Ever heard that nagging, creaking noise while riding your bike? You stop to check and you check all over the bike and you just can't figure out where the sound is coming from. Well, you're not alone. It seems your bike suspension needs some loving. You're gonna need a proper bike stand to be able to mount your bike up high. Next up, take off your wheels. Some people like leaving it on while walking on their bike, but I just prefer not having to be dealing with weight balancing and all that. Then you want to remove your crank arm to be able to access the bearings on your suspension. In my case, we'll be working with 1, 2, 3 bearings on the lower part of the suspension and the other 3 on the upper part of the suspension. Now multiply that by 2 because of course that's on the left side, and on the right side you have another set of 6, making 12 altogether. Now take a sharp blade knife to be able to take off the bearing seals. Now roll the inner part of the bearing race a little bit to see if it moves freely. This particular one seems okay, so I'm moving to the next one. And just repeat the same step for the next bearing. Check for some rough sounds. And again, it seems okay. Now I'm going for the middle bearing and just take out the bolt that holds it to the bike. Take off the seals as usual to access the bearing balls and spraying some rubbing alcohol. Then use some old toothbrush to get rid of those grit and grime and rinse off on the warm water. I even took it a step further by taking the inner ball bearings apart to be able to clean the inner bearings thoroughly. But just be careful when you're putting them back together so as not to lose them. Apply some grease, put the seals back on and give the bearing a little spin. Then clean the surface you're putting it back onto and the bolt that goes over it. Now we're moving on to the lower bearings of the suspension. Just repeat the same process over again. You already know the drill. Check for roughness, apply grease where need be, and pull back the seals when you're done. When you're done, the suspension should move freely as demonstrated around the pivot areas. For preventative purposes, I usually use this finish line wax. Then brush off your crank arm and reinstall. You're gonna need this Shimano proprietary tool to reinstall the other crank arm. Pull back your wheels and the squeaking noise should be gone. And if not, another possible culprit could be your dropper post. So take it apart carefully from the inner cables, wipe down the dropper post body itself, clean the necessary clamps, and you could get creative by making this improvised cleaning tool. It's just something that I put together by using some old rag wrapped around some old metal wrangler. Dip it inside the seat tube a couple of times and put it out and you should be good to go. Attach the inner cable to the dropper post, reinstall the old thing back in place and tighten the screw to the clamp. And if that still hasn't gotten rid of the squeaky noise, you're fucked. My bad. Next up is check your saddle. Just take it apart, clean the rails, clean the bolts and the clamps, just clean everything you could lay your hands on. And when you're done, put everything back together, torque the bolt to the right spec, and I promise you the old squeaky noise should be gone by this time, unless you have the biggest bad luck in the whole wide world. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button for more of such quality content, and share this video among loved ones and the celebrity of your choice. I'm Sir K signing out and see you in the next one.